What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
Or patch. 5 years ago, almost all hybrids of recorders and detectors had a specific flat and elongated shape and very decent size, due to the largest component of the design, horn receiving antenna. Such antennas are the most effective in the frequency ranges on which radars operate. And if we do not go deep into radio engineering, we can say simply, the size of the horn antenna cannot be reduced without a noticeable loss of efficiency. However, there are many antenna designs available. Since about 2017, manufacturers have increasingly begun to offer hybrids with a flat vertical antenna of the phased array type. Such a solution, by the way, is universally used in various ship, aviation, and space systems of radar, radio navigation, radio astronomy, etc. In auto gadgets, such a component is called patch antenna, which allows you to make much more popular with buyers compact and flat combo devices. Over the last couple of years, slender and relatively compact models have almost universally replaced large-sized devices with the horns. But here's the trouble: in most cases, patch antennas have a lower gain than horns, so as a result the radar detector's detection range drops. The problem is solvable, but there was an unpleasant mishap. The most advanced manufacturers of car gadgets have compensated for the low gain of the patch antenna by introducing high sensitivity, low noise amplifiers into the circuitry. But most other brands just quietly ignore this problem in order not to increase selling prices and not to scare away customers. As a result, the market is flooded with a lot of combo devices with multiple cameras, touchscreens, support for mobile applications, and other fashionable, albeit secondary features, but with insensitive receivers. And behind this characteristic are lost money of the consumer in pure form, because the lack of sensitivity of devices leads to fines. Detectors on which the manufacturer has saved money, too late to notify about radars hidden behind the turns, about radars with pulsed character and reduced radiation level, and other situations where you need high sensitivity of the receiver. In turn, one of the leaders of the domestic market of radar detectors and recorders, Neoline, initially did not follow this dubious path, having developed its own strategy. First, the company purposefully retains the traditional form factor detectors and combos with horn antennas. Yes, such devices are larger and less liked by buyers from among those who buy the device mindlessly and buy external features instead of studying the match part. However, you can't ignore consumer trends either, and finally, after a long wait for a huge community of fans of the brand, the manufacturer releases its first combo gadget with a patch antenna and a highly effective signal amplifier LNA, other name EXD module, which has no analogs in the Russian market. This model was a compact and flat Neoline X-COP 9200C, not inferior to its brethren with traditional horn antennas. The device with a significant margin on the distance detects absolutely all complex on the signal and low-power radars, not to mention the usual, and allows even when exceeding up to 60 km/h to reduce speed without dangerous sudden braking at a great distance from the police complex. The last statement, however, may seem like a call for gross violations, but it is not. In fact, it is a purely technical characteristic of the detector, converted into a picture understandable for the driver's perception. We do not consider call for violation speedometer scale, but it is now in any car is marked to the figures, more than twice the highest permissible speed limit allowed on domestic roads. Characteristics: Neoline X-COP 9200C, type of device, hybrid device, ether radar detector plus GPS, GLONASS informer plus video recorder. Video resolution, Full HD 1920 by 1080, 30 fps. Processor, Ambarella A12. Matrix, Sony Exmor 2MP IMX323, diagonal viewing angle 135 degrees. Display 2.0 inches, 240 by 320, IPS. Memory microSD card up to 256 GB. Other, magnetic mount, anti-glare CPL filter included, weekly update of camera databases. Dimensions, 117 by 52 by 28 mm, 108G. Device and design Neoline X-COP 9200C comes with a bracket with a magnetic mount and through power supply. That is, the power plug is connected to the bracket and you don't need to insert it into the gadget itself every time you install it. Today, this is the norm for above-average devices and beyond. The rigidity and vibration resistance of the bracket is impeccable. It moves very tightly in the height adjustment hinge and is clearly fixed in the magnetic connector. The connection, in addition to the strength of magnets, is also ensured by the protruding part of the connector of the device in the box on the socket of the bracket, so that even any shocks of the suspension on potholes cannot shake the combi. Mounting the bracket on the glass on double-sided adhesive tape 3M. It will not be possible to quickly transfer the gadget to another car if necessary, but this mount is maximally vibration resistant and will not fall off, including because of temperature differences or installation on insufficiently clean glass. Nevertheless, when changing the car or unsuccessful installation, it is easy to re-glue the bracket. 2 spare pieces of tape cut to the shape of the seat are included in the kit. One of the features of the bracket is a symmetrical contact group and symmetrical magnets. That is, the device can be inserted into the bracket with the lens forward, towards the windshield, and with the lens backward, into the passenger compartment, with a 180-degree flip. So, if necessary, you can turn the device upside down and start filming what is happening inside the car. For example, to record your communication with the inspector from start to finish. The cigarette lighter power cable here is an economy version. Its 12-volt plug has neither a USB socket, nor a power button, nor even an LED indicator, and the connector for connection to the bracket is a simple pin. But it works both in 12-volt and 24-volt onboard power supply. And it's better than Chinese chargers when you plug in their USB connector smartphone in the registrar because of lack of power stops working GPS. The screen here is small, but very bright, juicy and with wide viewing angles. The menu of the gadget is controlled by a typical for such devices combination of 4 keys: menu, OK, up, and down. For easy control of settings and functions, the buttons have a minimum pressing force. They can be pressed directly when the device is mounted in the bracket, and it will not have to be held with fingers from the front. And the set position of the lens will not be disturbed. The interface is 4 sections: DVR settings, radar detector settings, view recordings, and update. In Neoline X-COP 9200C very cleverly implemented the use of parking mode, keeping records in your absence when the car is parked. Usually the driver has to manually switch the black box to parking mode, and doing so on a regular and daily basis is stressful for many people. Often, parking mode is only turned on at night after all trips have been completed, and not when leaving the car to go to the store or other short errands. And if the car is knocked or scratched during the day in the parking lot of the store or in the yard, you will be left without video evidence. And here X-COP 9200C itself goes into parking mode automatically without any effort on the part of the driver, because it knows how to distinguish the started engine from the unstarted one by the level of supply voltage in the onboard network. And if you enable the appropriate function in the menu, the device will automatically switch to parking mode always after the engine is turned off and the generator stops working. The main thing is to keep the voltage on the cigarette lighter socket. If the cigarette lighter is cut off together with the ignition, the gadget can be connected to the fuse box with a special optional cable. In addition, X-COP 9200C will not discharge your battery to zero if for some reason you have to leave your car for a long time, and the recorder remains in parking mode and there is no possibility to turn off this function. In the menu of the device there is a function of controlling the voltage of the onboard network and automatic disconnection of the combi at its sagging to the selected limit. The limit can be set with the discreteness of 0.1 volt in the range from 11 to 12.3 volts. Such function is very rare in combo devices and it is usually found only in the form of additional, and not cheap, optional cables for connection with built-in voltage controllers. In X-COP 9200C it is already integrated into the circuit of the gadget itself. Radar part of X-COP 9200C Neoline was one of the pioneers of signature recognition technologies in the Russian market of radar detectors and hybrid devices, and has accumulated tremendous experience, first creating its own software called a Z signature filter, and in a short time refining it to maximum efficiency. X-COP 9200C contains in-memory signatures of absolutely all emitting radars which can only meet on Russian roads. Recognition with high reliability of real radars allows you to almost completely ignore any interference in the working ranges of the detector and primarily interference from blind spot sensors and active cruise control, which are today the main source of false alarms detectors. And all this without any compromise on range compared to horn devices, as mentioned above. For all radar detection range of the new product from Neoline about twice as high as the budget signature with patch antennas without amplifiers. That is especially important for the detection of so-called low-noise radars such as ASCAT, OSCAN, Crechet, Arena, Cordon and others. In addition, X-COP 9200C has a highly sensitive amplifier in the optical part, which makes the detection of laser lidar poliscan real, not conditional, as in many competitors. Competitors, in their turn, often use the Z-signature filter technology developed by Neoline, often simply adopting the term and implying their own software under it. We conduct all tests of radar detectors by carefully making adjustments in the menu, disabling unnecessary ranges, setting optimal sensitivity modes, optimal limits of speed and distance alerts. This is normal, as any instrument needs to be adjusted by hand. It is acceptable to use factory default settings, but if you can help the hardware and software to work in order to squeeze the maximum out of the device, you should do it. However, since the creators of Neoline X-COP 9200C declare such outstanding characteristics of the brains of their gadget, it was decided not to create additional conveniences for it, but on the contrary, to complicate the work in every possible way. We included in the settings all sensitivity modes to the maximum and all ranges. And even activated the X-band, which all detector manufacturers strongly advise to disable because there are no radars on these frequencies in Russia since 2012, but there are plenty of interference. After such settings, we drove to the most hot spots. We visited all available gas stations and shopping malls in search of sources of interference resembling radars, got in the back end. Stood in front of the nose of all car models known as noble interference generators due to blind spot monitoring systems and active cruise, and, of course, drove around a lot of real radars and ambushes. Practically a whole day of driving, and not a single false signal. Silence when passing gas stations and large office and commercial buildings, silence when neighboring on the road with VW Touareg, Audi Q8, Mazda CX-5 and other famous ether garbage collectors in various positions, behind, overtaking, ahead and parallel. Moreover, all real sources of danger were detected flawlessly and as far in advance as possible. We must admit that Neoline X-COP 9200C is really the smartest auto gadget from those that came to our test. At the moment it can be safely considered as a benchmark for evaluating other models of signature radar detectors. It is worth noting separately the elaborate system of voice alerts. Many manufacturers are overly fond of voice interfaces, forgetting that excessive talkativeness is harmful to the radar detector. As a result, sometimes it turns out that while the device leisurely rants about the danger, that danger can already be passed. X-COP 9200C gives voice briefly, without unnecessary lyrics and even in the smallest accelerated pace. Nothing superfluous. The only minor complaint and recommendation for further updates is to make a countdown 4 cameras shooting in the back. Now Neoline X-COP 9200C warns about approaching such a camera and immediately after passing it stops notification. Although it would be nice to continue to identify on the screen the decreasing distance at which there is still a danger of fixation. When increasing speed above the limit. In tandem with the air detector in X-COP 9200C works GPS, a GLONASS informer. It seems to be the same as everyone else's, but not quite. Its strong points are fast start and stable satellite retention, which is especially important when processing long areas of average speed control. The device works stably even if the distance of control exceeds 65 kilometers. Plus Neoline database is rightfully considered one of the most complete and most frequently updated, fresh radar database, Russia Plus. CAS is released every Friday and international twice a month, usually on Tuesdays. Support is not limited in time and, of course, is free of charge. Updating of camera and radar coordinates data for GPS, GLONASS informer, is done by the classic contact method, manually. It is very simple and does not cause any difficulties. It is enough to remove the memory card from the slot, pour a DB file, database file from https://neoline. RU obnavlení app onto it at home and then return the card to its place and start the update function from the menu. The same goes for updated firmware when it comes out. By the way, the small but useful function of gesture control motion control deserves special attention. Neoline engineers gave it maximum sense within its capabilities, carefully thought out the algorithm of work. To the left of the display on the front panel of the gadget are two barely visible eyes, receiver and transmitter infrared range, which respond to the proximity of the palm. In X-COP 9200C they are responsible for mute. This is convenient to use if you are driving at the authorized speed past a well-known radar while having a conversation with a passenger. In this case you don't need an alert, so just wave your palm and the device will silence without interfering with the conversation. But, importantly, it will only silence for one radar and will automatically return its voice at the next danger. By the way, control of the temporary mute function by gestures, if we use the terminology adopted in the interfaces of car stereos, was invented for radar detectors just in Neoline, and then it has already been picked up by other manufacturers. Video recording Neoline X-COP 9200C includes a full HD video recorder 1920 by 1080, 30 fps. There is no fancy rear camera in it, but everything you need for high-quality frontal shooting is available. A high-performance processor from Ambarella and a sensitive Sony XMOA sensor. Video recording is in MP4 format. Plus, like any modern high-end combo device, Neoline X-COP 9200C comes with a CPL filter to eliminate glare and reflection of the dashboard in the frames of video recording, polluting the shooting with unnecessary artifacts. Rotating the filter on the lens also adds contrast and richness to the image. The recording quality is top-notch thanks in no small part to the processing software. The camera copes well with frontal illumination, quickly reacts with exposure correction in difficult situations when light and shadow change rapidly, for example, when driving along a forest belt, when the sun flashes like a strobe light, or when driving out of tunnels into bright light. Color rendition is natural. Night shooting demonstrates the same skills of the camera to maximize light sensitivity and at the same time minimally blinded by the rays of its own headlights reflected from the stern and license plate of the car ahead. Example video, day video example, night. We can say without exaggeration and pathos that Neoline X-COP 9200C really sets new standards in the matter of noise immunity and sensitivity of the detector part of combo devices. Let's hope that the first to swallow will be followed by the next models of hybrid devices from Neoline in the most demanded by consumers. Form factor of compact and flat case with patch antennas. In conclusion, the Neoline X-COP 9200 combo device stands out as a powerful tool for drivers seeking enhanced safety and awareness on the road. With its advanced features, including high-definition video recording and reliable radar detection, it offers a comprehensive solution for navigating today's traffic challenges. Whether you're a seasoned driver or just starting out, this device can significantly elevate your driving experience. So, are you the smartest one here? With the Neoline X-COP 9200, you just might be. Thank you for watching and drive safely.